also made the case for owning Bitcoin, the quintessence of scarcity premium. It's literally the only large tradable asset in the world that has a known fixed maximum supply. By its design, the total quantity of Bitcoins cannot exceed 21 million.
Bitcoin is the hardest money that has ever been invented.
If you don't have my private key, you cannot spend my Bitcoin, period. And this is the power of Bitcoin.
It's the first time we figured out how to create true property that you can take possession of with full custodial rights.
What's going on, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Talking in Bits, where we walk you through Bitcoin bit by bit so we can provide you with the information you need to succeed and persist. Back with episode 60, but this one really should have been 58. I got my man Deniz here in the house. Mr. 58K, man, what's up?
What's going on? I love the intro.
Yeah, thanks. I thought about it earlier. I was like, man, this should have been 58. Absolutely should have been 58, but missed you there by a little bit.
It's all good. It's all good.
Yeah. Hey, before we even get into all that stuff, because I'm curious, how did the 58K thing even happen, man? I mean, I know it's notorious. I know it's a little gang now. Are you the leader of that gang? How did that come about?
So I think around, when was it? Around the spring of 2021, when we were, going up and down between 50 and 60 and everyone was getting upset. I think a few of the bigger accounts, they started complaining about how, are we going to go up anymore? What's going on? And I think American HODL posted something about 58 being the worst, or 58K being the worst. Like,
yeah,
he'd rather just, he'd rather the price just like drop or go up. Like he wanted to get out of that range. And I think Croesus was also part of that whole thing. And then, I don't know. Cause you know how on Twitter we get bored whenever like price doesn't do anything. So I'm like, okay, I gotta rally the troops. We gotta appreciate 58K. So, cause it was, because during the 9K, 10K range, everyone was like so upset that nothing was happening. And I was kind of like on the sidelines saying, well, I hope we at least get like 30. 30K would be great. Like we at least go past 20K from the all-time high during that time. And then, I started posting like 58K forever, guys, 58K gang forever. I don't know where the gang part came in, but I think around the second time I was like, all right, we got to start a gang. We got to start ramping it up. I need some followers, but honestly, I guess you could say like, I'm technically the guy who started it, but you ever watch that video where the first person who starts dancing, like in the open field, he's like dancing kind of crazy. Like everyone's looking at him like, oh, you're weird. Why are you doing that? And then it's the second person who comes in, and then they start attracting more people to start saying, oh yeah, like 58K gang forever. I don't know. I didn't mean for it to start into anything. I think everyone just saw that I was having fun and they wanted to have fun too. So that's kind of how I look at it. I don't know.
No, it's just you guys are holding strong. I still see it, 58K, and I bet now everybody wishes we're at 58K. It's one of those things, but just wanted to call that out. That's how I actually started seeing you on my radar and on my feed, was when the 58K gang started going around. So, but Deniz, if for the listeners that don't know you, please just a little bit of what you're up to, a little bit about yourself, so they can catch up.
Yeah, for sure. I guess when was the first time I heard about Bitcoin? I think it was around like 2013, 2014, end of 2013, when they started broadcasting the Winklevoss twins, or the Winklevi, on like CNBC, and they were talking about like how, like, I don't know, for me at the time it was really strange to see a currency go up from like, I don't know, 200 to 1,000 within a year. So I didn't really understand what was going on there. It's like that, there's got to be something wrong there. It's like a maybe in line with a Ponzi scheme or like a pump and dump. That's kind of what I was thinking at the time, because I was just getting into stocks. I was just learning about finance during that time.
Yep.
So everything was like kind of new, and then kind of forgot about it between then and 2017. And then I saw the pump again in 2017, and I was like, oh, it's doing it again. All right, something strange is going on here. And then then I got into like shitcoining, because I figured, okay, I missed like the Bitcoin boat or whatever.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people, especially in 2017, got that impression. They're like, oh, I need to get into like BCH or what else? Dogecoin or yeah, Dogecoin was even big during that time as well. And I was really surprised to see it pop off again. But I don't know. I don't know what the deal is with that. But yeah, and I didn't take it as seriously. So maybe I lost like $1,000 maybe during that whole time. And then 2018 happened and it like bottomed out. And then I started taking it seriously because around the spring of 2019, it started popping off again. I was like, oh, are we going through the same cycle again? Am I about to miss another cycle? No, I'm not going to miss this next cycle. So I actually started looking more into Bitcoin and then decided, okay, this is the way to go because everything else just felt not as, I guess, genuine at the time. Because everyone who was in the space, it when you're not specifically in the Bitcoin space, you see everyone else just like, oh yeah, I'm trying to make like quick money and whatever. But within Bitcoin, especially if you get on Twitter, you sort of realize, oh, these people are here for something more than just, price action. Like price action is important, but they're more into like, I just want to take care of my family. I don't want to get like a Lambo would be cool, but like, I'd rather just, buy some land, have a family, do my own thing with my family and, have everyone else like leave me alone.
Yeah.
That's I think that started to appeal to me more, especially since I was older versus the first time I got into it. So I was like, oh yeah, I honestly don't need a lot. And I think Bitcoin really exemplified that. It's like, oh, these guys they've been in here a while and they're really rich, but they don't, they're not like flaunting anything.
Right.
They're not flaunting their wealth in any way. They're like, yeah, I'm in it for the commitment of staying here. And I just like that. I like that outlook. It's like, you don't need to act like a rapper or look like a rapper to, I guess, be accepted in the space. If
that's rare.
If that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, do you think that's a feature of hard money or that's just specific to Bitcoin and the ethos of digital money? That mentality. Because when I think of okay, I was thinking about like the old hard money and it kind of seemed like that's all people wanted since the beginning of the time is to buy land or own land and be. So I'm wondering if that's more hard money or if that's just Bitcoin just being Bitcoin.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of bringing it back to the way things were, like probably. And I think of like a lot of the billionaires, for example, like you see Zuckerberg and you see Bezos. I mean, they don't flaunt their wealth. They obviously have it, and they're silently like buying up all these assets, but they're not like on social media throwing it out there like, oh yeah, I just bought like all of Hawaii or something. Oh, look at my $250 billion like boat or something like that. I don't know. But I think it has I guess it's a bit of both. Because if you have hard money, you're not going to let go of that pretty easily. You're going to really look into and research exactly what you're going to buy with Bitcoin. Like, I'm not going to buy a second-rate, lawnmower from Home Depot with my Bitcoin. I'm going to wait around until they make the perfect lawnmower that I never have to buy again, or I just use a credit card to get that lawnmower.
Yeah, pay the dirty fiat.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's kind of like everything you've been saying about like when you jumped on Twitter and then you started. That's kind of how it happened for me too. It was just like this 9-to-5, high time preference lifestyle, and then for some reason, and I'm like watching everybody on Twitter. And I'm like, these guys have the lowest time preference of all time. I mean, these guys are just calmly living through life while mine seems to be like that meme with the dog and the fire all around them, whatever, right? And as you get deeper into Bitcoin and you start to learn more about like that sovereignty, I think I'm not gonna gamble my family's wealth as easy as, like you just said, on the shitty lawnmower when I could just wait around for something bigger to happen. That's interesting, man. First time in my life that I've ever seen anything like that. I mean, I do come from I guess if you want to call it that, the rapper, arena where we saw Puff Daddy and Mace and, the Rolexes and the shiny suits and, guys, I see pictures of myself now in high school and I had like this fake jewelry on and my Steve McNair stitched NFL jersey, right? And then I was wondering why my life was going to shit.
Yeah. It's sort of like taking on a persona that you can't really pay for, I guess. That's really what it is. It's like, I get why rappers were doing that because, gets a lot of attention, especially for that time. I don't fault them for that. It's like, yeah, it looks cool. Like I used to watch a lot of that stuff too. Because we all want the option to do that. Because once you get the option, it's like, well, maybe I don't need to do that anymore. Like maybe I don't actually have to buy the big chains with like clocks on them or something. Like I could do it, but I'm not going to do that. Because what's the point? Who am I going to impress? I don't have a huge following. Like who's going to care? I guess at that point. I guess if you're, more mature at that point. But I don't know.
Yeah, some people don't get mature ever though, and also the masses, as I'm sure you're aware, they love fuck shit. I mean, they love the person that has the big clock chain and the, everything. So like, I see why it works, and I also concede that that's why I always suck at social media. It's because I just refuse to be that person.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think. I think we're moving into a different period where, within social media, we're finding a lot of people that are similar to us. I mean, everyone has this idea that they're, like special or different. You're not. I mean, clearly Bitcoin can teach you that pretty quickly, but the internet is the perfect place to filter out a lot of the people that maybe, you won't get along with in real life. It'll just attract you. Like, I don't know how the algos work, but that's pretty much what's been happening. They're bringing in more people that have similar interests, and you can find niches a lot easier just because, I don't know, they build these profiles of you and then they have it so specific that they just match you with other people that pretty much have the same attention span, same interests, same habits, and then they sell that to advertisers. So like while you're finding all your friends, they're also selling all that data to advertisers. So I don't know.
Yeah.
It's very interesting how the internet has developed.
Yeah, I think I'm scarred from like the other networks basically. Like, I mean, I used to do Facebook ads and all that stuff. So I kind of have like that underpinning of how much data they have on people. So I'm like, I don't even want to dabble in those. I actually got somebody who posts for me on those. But on Twitter, on Bitcoin Twitter, I actually found that because of like the anon feature of Bitcoin, where like a lot of people, want to stay anon, it now takes away from, what we were just talking about a little while ago, which is that like, I need to show off and be flashy. It's like, now you can be interesting just to be interesting. And I only found that in Bitcoin Twitter, which, I mean, it may not be specific to Bitcoin Twitter, but it's making a lot of sense to what you're saying. Whereas like now I'm finding like-minded people because of the algos, I guess. But you never know with those algos, man.
Yeah, I mean, in general, it promotes you to be yourself, like at least true to yourself. Because I've seen that with YouTube as well. It's sort of like the more sincere and genuine you appear. I mean, you don't actually have to be genuine, but if you appear genuine towards your audience, that's how, I guess, YouTube search starts promoting your work at that point. And it's the same thing with Twitter. If you have a genuine thought and you throw it out there, I mean, a lot of people will eventually notice that and they'll be like, oh, okay, I'll start following you or something like that.
Interesting. All right, well, I've been, and I don't know if you've started to do this yourself with your content, and we can get into your content in a second here, but like I've started to, I don't want to say give up on those platforms, but I do see the power and incentive to push like Bitcoin-backed platforms. So like saying, hey, go watch me on Bitcoin TV instead of watching me on YouTube. Would you, in your opinion, as a content creator, is it too early to start doing that?
I don't think so. I mean, It depends on what you're in it for, I guess. Are you here to get newer people involved in the space, or are you trying to entrench yourself within, I guess you could say, the more seasoned individuals? So more seasoned individuals, if that's like your main audience, then yeah, definitely promote that. But yeah, if you're trying to get new people into the space, I guess YouTube is still, it's still technically the king. So you got to put your stuff on there to attract them. But yeah, it really depends on your motives. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a valid point. And I guess it makes sense to spread it all over the board and not try to, like, I got an 18-year-old daughter who's basically like, hey, Dad, TikTok is it. This is where you got to go. And I'm like, man, I'm all set with that stuff. I just don't have the bandwidth, and I'm not good at social media. And she opened up a Talking in Bits account just to kind of like, put the pie in my face and let me know that I'm getting old. And first video, and I've heard that the algos are kind of biased in the beginning anyways, but first video, one of those social clips for the show got about 750 views on the first night. And I'm just like, holy bananas, what voodoo is going on here?
Yeah, man. Yeah, TikTok is like, that's a whole nother, that's another beast.
Yeah,
I've noticed a lot of weird things on there, but if you're trying to get younger people involved, that's where they are. It was Snapchat. Now it's clearly TikTok at this point. And I guess they're moving away. Well, you see Facebook and YouTube also have those sort of like short clips as well.
Yep.
So they're trying to compete with TikTok, but I don't know. I don't know if it's necessary to do that type of stuff on those platforms when your audience is there just to hear you riff for like 40 to 60 minutes on YouTube, and then basically you have to reformat yourself for something like TikTok, or just take, like really tiny clips from there.
Yeah, I'm definitely not trying to commit to it at all. Like, as long as she's running it, like I see it in two ways, right? Like I've gotten into this thing where like I rather just empower like my nieces and nephews, my sons and daughters or whatever. So like as I start to scale Talking in Bits and I start to do like 2 episodes a week, and I'm working on the blog and doing all this stuff, it's like, well, I'm gonna teach you how to video edit, right? And then I'm gonna have you on board, and I'm actually gonna pay you while you learn, right? And then so in that situation, in that example, my daughter's the social media manager. Right. So it's like, look, I'm just going to be on Twitter because that's my favorite place to be. That's where all the Bitcoin is at, and I love it there. And she's handling Instagram. She's handling TikTok. She's handling, I believe, Facebook. And I love it because I don't give a shit about those platforms, and I would never want to adapt to it. But if she's willing to put her time and energy, she can, have a little bit blossoming career as a social media manager, which from my days back in the Facebook ads, those social media manager people make a shitload of money. So, it's one of those empowering things. It's helpful to me, and we'll see where it goes. But if it was up to me, Talking in Bits would be just on Twitter. I mean, that's the only place where I actually see myself being and interacting with people.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. Did you notice like a change in her behavior after you started? So you're paying her in Bitcoin, right?
Of course. 100%.
Yeah. Did you notice a change in her behavior after you were like, oh, if you do this, okay, I'll pay you this amount of sats or whatever, depending on the amount of work? Or
yeah, no, I just noticed that we now have, because she's 18 and she's already out the house, which is great. So I just noticed now we kind of have more things to talk about. I know that sounds very weird, but like when they leave the nest, it's like you kind of talk to them every now and then, and they reach out to you to tell you they're breathing, but that's kind of about it. But like just because we're working together, like we talk every other day, and then that just spills into like personal conversations and her boyfriend and all this stuff. And so it's definitely been an improvement in our relationships subtly, not like nothing major, but the learning of Bitcoin and the learning of understanding that I'm not just giving you this like digital stuff that you can't do anything with. She actually has a cold card, and she actually has private keys, and she's trying to hold on to this hodl. So yeah, it's good things, but I'm trying to, it's a learning lesson for me too, because I don't want to be boss. I kind of just want to still be dad and also teach you some skills that could, possibly get you more gigs, right? Because everybody needs a social media manager, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. No, I think you're setting her up for success. That's awesome. Love to see it.
Yeah, hopefully, man. That's every dad's dream. Are you a dad?
No, not yet.
Okay, cool. Not yet.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
Okay.
I
Gotcha.
gotta give it another. I might give it another like decade, but we'll see.
I didn't want to put you on the spot there,
Yeah.
but like now, just dads, the dads that are telling you they know what they're doing are completely full of shit. Like you just kind of stumble along, right, and then you figure it out. You may have an idea of what you want to do, but in execution, you never know when you're gonna wake up and hear that like, "Hey, Dad, I got my first boyfriend." "Hey, Dad, I got," right? Like you're not prepared for those situations, especially when she's your first. She's my oldest born, so. It's very crazy, very interesting. But enough about me in that sense. Let's talk about what you got going on, Deniz. Coinbeast. I saw that you had a YouTube. Is that a newer YouTube? Like, give me a little bit of history on your content and how long you've been doing content for.
For sure. So let's see. I started with Coinbeast back in the summer of 2020. So what happened was, I don't know, do you follow Adam Meister, Tech Vault?
I do not.
Okay.
Should I? You're telling me I should, right?
You might want to. I mean, he doesn't. He's kind of retired at this point. But before, during like 2018, 2019, 2020, when I was watching him, he basically laid down the whole foundation of Bitcoin for me. And one of his videos, he was talking about, okay, there's this new startup, Coinbeast, and they need writers. And if you have any work, reach out and I'll share your stuff with the CEO over there. And apparently I was the only one who applied. So I was like, oh, okay, great. No competition. The interview was straightforward. I think the interview probably lasted like 10 minutes. It was just like, oh, okay, cool. Yeah, we'll have you write some stuff. So that's kind of what got me more into the space, I think. Because at the time it was like, I think we were doing like 2 articles a week and on top of my already full-time job. So was doing that for about maybe 8 months. And then later on, I got more into, I guess, stuff with my job and everything. And then around January of this past January, I had to leave for certain reasons because I'm in New York and they have certain laws that don't let certain people work. Yeah. But anyway, yeah. But yeah, I started reaching out and I started doing more freelance writing at that point. Yeah. And the YouTube channel was something that I always wanted to start. I didn't really know what to do. I mean, you can see that within like the first like couple of videos, like, oh, I'll just start a YouTube video. I don't know, or a YouTube channel and do a video each day. Doesn't matter what it is. I'll just try to post something each day because that's what the algo likes, especially for newer channels. But and it got me to practice more. So I think that's a good thing. But yeah, that's kind of what I'm doing now. Yeah, most of the time.
Now, I've always wondered this out of curiosity myself. Walk me through the process of freelance writing. So like, you come up with an idea, or do they give you an idea? Does it get pushed back? Does it go through editors? How does that whole process work to actually make a publication?
So it might depend on the company you're working with. So with Coinbeast, there was a lot of back and forth, especially on ideas and what sort of content we wanted to put out. And then a lot of times they'll probably have someone do it separately, or maybe I don't know. It really depends on the company, but they'll have someone look into SEO and see what kind of, I guess, clickbaity tags they want to include within the article. But most of the time, it's like Bitcoin beginner content a lot of the times, especially with newer blogs. So if they're starting out right away, that's the perfect time to come in and say, oh, I've done similar articles like this. Can we post something like that on there? But otherwise, they have their own timeline and sort of track that they want to go. So it's like, okay, we want the basic stuff done here, and then we want reviews of certain products here, and then they basically tell you, okay, we want it done within this month. And then by the end of that month, you should start working on the reviews and go from there. But that's with more of the, I guess, educational clients I have. But with BTC Times, for example, that's all news based. So that's an article a day, which is like, it could be from like 300 to 500 words, but it's like a quick, I guess you could consider like a clip of a video. Like it's not full on like, oh, here's the analysis behind what's going on with Russia, et cetera. But here's like just specifically what's going on. Here are the facts. This is what we know. This is what we don't know.
Gotcha. And that's on what website is that one on? On the BTC Times?
Yeah, BTC Times. So that's,
okay, and then on Coinbeast is more like long flowing instructional videos, reviews, stuff like that.
Yeah. So it'll basically depend on the platform. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, which one do you prefer writing better? Is it the little blips or is it those long form educational ones?
I don't know, to be honest, because some days I'm like, oh yeah, I just want to get through a news article, and then other days it's like, oh man, it's so much easier to just write from the dome and then edit with like an educational sort of blog. But yeah.
Yeah, are you tough on yourself? And I'm only asking these questions, by the way, because I also write, and I like beat myself up about doing it every single day and all that. But like,
that's cool,
how
man.
rigorous are you with your editing? Do you like go through it, comb word for word 100 times? Are you one of those that just edits real quick and gets it out? What's your editing like?
I think definitely in the beginning, yeah, it was pretty hard on myself. And then when I was doing my own blog too, yeah, that's no longer up though, because I figured I'd rather just have the articles on each platform and then save the sats, because I don't know, like I probably should have another portfolio, but it should be on like a free website. So there's links to everything, but that's like a whole nother thing. But yeah, I think I guess I'm in my like second year of just doing articles every day, every other day. The editing gets quicker. Yeah, it does get much quicker. Like, especially with news articles, because a lot of, like, before this never happened. Before I would just write a sentence and then go back to it and say, oh, okay, I got to change this up like a lot. But then with something like a news article every day, it takes you maybe 3 to 4 times the time to write that single sentence, but you don't have to do too much editing when you look back on it. So it's weird. It's sort of just like, I don't know. The process
kind of balances up.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I got to get to the phase where I'm just like not going back to that sentence, dude, because I'll sit there for like, oh man. Sometimes it feels like hours just like rewriting that either sentence or paragraph. And then by the end of it, I'm going nowhere. I'm just spinning on ice here.
Yeah. Are your articles on, they're on your website, yeah?
Yeah, I just started posting
Nice.
The articles, and I'm trying to keep up with that one a day thing, but that's a little tough.
Yeah,
So
it is.
I write every morning anyways. I'm really into like Stoic philosophy and journal entries and stuff like that. So like I kind of turned my journal literally into what you were basically saying, like a small rip, right? Like, and I just randomly just burst on something and then I'll fix it up afterwards. The problem that I'm having is my schedule's so damn busy, with the video editing and everything until I teach, the younger ones. I don't know what time of day I would have to like get this onto text, edit it, clean it up. So I got to build the schedule, I guess is what I'm trying to say. But yeah, I got a few things up there, and I have this is pre-Bitcoin. I have it, and I'm looking over there because I have it there. I actually published a book on Amazon. It's no good. I don't tell people to do it. It's good in concept, but I wish I would have had an editor. I'll just say that. So yeah, I've dabbled with writing for a long time, and I don't know. In high school, if it makes any sense, I was a rapper.
Nice.
So, I've always had some type of writing, some type of vocal, play with words. Basically, has always been a thing for me.
That's awesome, man. Yeah.
Yeah, just trying to stay as I was talking to Car. Do you know Car? Everybody knows Car. No, Thriller X. Car Gonzalez. Yeah. Maybe not.
I have to check. Yeah.
Yeah, big, Austin pleb or whatever, one of those guys. But basically, I was talking to him the last time I was in Austin, and we were talking about creativity, and he was just explaining to me. He's like, as a creative, it's just a bad idea to stay in one sandbox. Right? It's like your creativity child inside, if you want to call it that, needs a bunch of different sandboxes in order to keep you kind of going and being creative. And he's like one of the biggest problems that he sees a lot of creators do or creatives is they just stick to one thing. Like they just either write or they just do video or and it's like you're just starving that creativity by just not trying new things and not trying to do different things. I mean, you would have talked to me maybe a year and some change ago, this whole camera thing, especially in 4K and all that stuff, I would have tell you that hell no, get out of here with that. But it's now trying to be creative. It's now trying to learn about lighting. It's now trying to learn about, how to pull it off. And I don't know, would you agree with that, with the sandboxes?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. My background is mostly, so I started out in fine arts in high school, and then I continued that through college. And then I got into graphic design around the same time and filmmaking. So yeah, there's that itch that needs to be scratched for sure. Yeah.
There's a bunch of things right there.
Yeah.
Are you still in all those sandboxes? Do you dabble in any of those, or like filmmaking and stuff? That sounds super fascinating.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't been just because I think Bitcoin kind of took over my life. That's pretty much what happened. Yeah, and around college, so I did get a sense of how the film industry was going and like what direction it was going, and I figured I need to get into basically the IT sector, and finance too. I was reading up on that on my own, but that's kind of the route I took after I graduated, because I said, I don't know if I want to do 3-month like spurts of work and then have 2 months off, because that's kind of what like the whole filmmaking life is like. You're basically just working like 12 to 16 hours every day for a certain amount of time, and then you get a huge break, and then you have to look for another gig to do. I figured, all right, I think I should stick with the technology side of that, and I think overall it worked out for me, just because eventually I did get into Bitcoin, and I did learn more about the IT space at that time. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I think around retirement, I'll probably get back into painting or something, but I don't know.
Yeah, man, feed that inner child, man, that inner creativity. I've done so many things in my life, man. I used to code Android apps, which is the most random thing I've ever done. And I actually thought I was going to make a career of it. Like I went to like I was invited to, went to a few like Google events and all this stuff. So I was like, oh, this could be an actual career. And then I applied for a job at, what's that weird furniture company that people thought they were like smuggling children in lockers? I forget what the hell they were called.
Ooh, Wayfair or something like that?
Yes, okay. Wayfair. So a buddy, they're up here in Massachusetts somewhere, or their headquarters are. And the buddy of mine was like, hey, I know like a lead developer there. You can work on their Android app. And I don't know, it's pussy of me if I were to say now in retrospect, but I went through the interview process and it was just like, I will never get a job doing this. Like they wanted me to do some shit. Like I've talked to a lot of programmers and they understand one thing. When a problem is a problem, like a bug or something, it takes a lot of just like iteration and fixing and tweaking until you get it right. And on these interviews, they want you to just ace it and like, here's this problem, solve it in 5 minutes. And it's like, well, I didn't learn that way. I learned by smashing my head on the keyboard for a day and a half until I fixed the problem. So like, obviously I didn't get hired, right? And then from there I was like, well, if this is what all these interviews are gonna be like, which like I said, is pretty dumb of me in retrospect, I don't want no part of this field. And then I went into marketing, and then from there I went into making beats. I made beats for a long time, so a producer. I mean, I can't stop it. So when I, to circle back, when I got into that conversation with Carr, I was like, oh, I've been doing that forever. I just didn't realize that there were different sandboxes. I thought I just couldn't figure my life out.
Yeah. No, I think, like a lot of the more rounded individuals, I think, end up in Bitcoin just because there's so much to attach yourself to. I mean, it goes into things beyond tech. It just goes into ideology. It goes into even having certain diets. Like it's crazy.
Yeah, no seed oil guy?
Yeah, no seed oil.
Hey,
Yeah.
there's a lot of clicks out here. I've tried the no seed oil thing. I think I'm gonna stick to it. I believe it, but I also be careful because you fall into these little like cults, and then you don't see the world the same ever again.
Yeah, it's true. It's yeah, a lot of, I don't know. People think it's like bad to be lonely, but sometimes, a lot of the times it's not, just because, I don't know, you're doing your own thing. Like, I think I respect that more than trying to like have friends. I mean, obviously, obviously I want friends, but it's just sort of like, well, if my friends are not going to be on this journey with me, I mean, that's totally fine. But a lot of people feel, I guess, kind of scared to do something like that. And that's what happens with Bitcoin. It's like, oh yeah, I've been doing, like, you'll find plebs on Twitter who've been into Bitcoin alone, not on Twitter, for like years. And then they find Twitter and they're, you know, they're super happy to finally realize, oh, I'm not actually crazy. Everyone else is.
Yeah, that's a valid point. Yeah. And a while back, I used to, I heard somebody say something. I'm going to butcher this quote, but like, the worst company any person could ever have is done by themselves. But I disagree now, right? Because I agree with you. I think it's like, I'd rather just be the kid that doesn't want to go sit with the cool kids and kind of sit in the corner of the cafeteria and just observe shit than be the kid that's actually in there just trying to pretend to be, you know, a sports jock or whatever the hell the cool kids were doing. So, but it took that lower of time preference, Bitcoin, like you just said, to kind of get me to agree that being alone, or not alone, but being, you know, self-thinking and off to the side is actually a good thing. It's a feature. It's not a bug.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, most definitely.
Yeah. So I want to talk about educating, especially in Bitcoin. I mean, obviously you're writing articles to educate people. I've had this, you know, I guess maybe I'm newer at orange pilling people. I don't think I'm new, but maybe I'm just talking about it more vocal now because I have the show and stuff. But I've had weird conversations lately where, like, it seems like the individual would like for me to slow down for them. And it's like, not slow down that, you know, I'm fire hosing them information, but like, because they may not understand the term, like, let's just say, you know, Tor browser, or let's just, that is a reason for me now to have to explain Tor browser in and out, right? And so, like, what's your method of educating, or have you found over time that's pretty comforting for people, of kind of one shoe fits all type approach?
Yeah, I think when someone gets really into Bitcoin, they start wanting to share what they know with other people who are, you know, who are just like, you know, totally asleep. It's kind of like, yeah, I guess like you said, like fire hosing them. It's like, I'm asleep in my bed. Why are you showering me with all this water? I don't want this right now. But yeah, I think the best approach I've seen is usually when they start coming to you and they start asking, okay, how do I get into Bitcoin? Like, I don't know anything about Bitcoin. But even then, they're still hesitant to buy or do anything. They're like, oh, like there are those certain types of people who are on the edge of like, oh, should I buy? Oh, I'm not going to buy. It's, you know, it's too much work. The best advice I've seen, I forgot who, this must have been like Optimist or someone else, but it's usually to cater to what their actual concerns are, I think. So if they're concerned about inflation, it's like, okay, that's an easy sell. But if they're concerned about like their future, or their main goal is to get a house or something simple like that, or the main goal is to get a family, you could pretty much approach it from that perspective. It's like, okay, what do you want, or like, how do you plan on getting that family? And if they don't have a plan on getting a family, it's like, okay, well, we'll probably just start from there, and then eventually you get to Bitcoin. But that's a few like weeks or months, depending on like how they actually figure out what they want first. And then Bitcoin sort of comes in as like, oh, that's the support system that I need to make this functional, you know? Because a family's, you know, a family could be expensive. It doesn't have to be expensive. Depends on how you approach it as well. It's sort of like, all right, well, I don't believe in the school system, so I'm going to have to figure out how to educate them at home. But then I have to figure out how to make money at the same time as I work or whatever. You have to balance that out, or you have to negotiate or ask your significant other, oh, would one of us be okay just staying with the kids all the time during that? And then that's when I guess it's the perfect time to start chilling, like, oh, Bitcoin can allow you to, you know, take the load off of like one of the partners in the situation.
Yeah.
To stay home with the kids. And then if you get into mining, it's like, oh, okay. You kind of just have a bit more of a self-sustaining or sovereign setup at that point. It's like, okay, I mean, worst case comes to worst, at least we have the miners going and we still have some income coming in. So you kind of have that, like, Bitcoin is the support system, I guess, at that point. It's part of it.
Yeah, see, what I'm getting is, and you're right, 100% on like the newbies, I guess, if you want to call it. What I'm getting is people that are already in Bitcoin, but for some reason want me to be like their number one source of truth for Bitcoin. So it's like, oh, since he talks about it, he must know all the answers. And he must, now he's going to give me his hours and time to explain this to me. And then the weird conundrum lately is I do dedicate the time. And then it always ends up being like, oh, but now you're just speaking too fast, or like, this is not making any sense to me. And it's like, well, I said I would talk to you about cold storage. I didn't say I was going to like lay out a diagram with a chalkboard and explain it down to its cores and all that. So I'm having, I don't know if you ever get those type of conversations where like, you know, people are in Bitcoin, but they, I guess, trust you so much that they'd rather just go to you instead of doing their own due diligence and finding out. Because, I mean, Coinbeast, there's a ton of resources out there. But they have to want to do it.
Yeah. And then you get the, I mean, this isn't the worst case scenario, but you do get the various people who, like you said, they trust you fully. So it's like, oh, okay, can I just give you like $50 and then you hold the Bitcoin for me? It's like, I mean, I guess I'm a banker now at this point. Like, you kind of get yourself in that situation. It's like, all right, I'll hold it for you, but still feels kind of weird holding someone else's money, especially when it's Bitcoin. It's like, oh man, if I really lose that, all right, I gotta level up and I don't know, get into like multi-sig at that point or something.
Yeah, but that's another can of worms. If I tell like somebody, hey, just get a multi-sig, they're gonna be like, what the fuck are you talking about? And it's like, oh well. And then you start, you know, well, it's 2 of 3, and you know, X pubs, and they're just like, what the fuck's an X pub? Yeah. It's like, I get it, I do. We were all there once, but what I like to try to remind these folks is like, hey, I didn't know what an X pub was at one point either. Like, I think everybody's at that point where like we begin and we're indifferent, and I'm cool with giving you like a general consensus. But damn, like, you got proof of work. You got to go do the research. I can't be your single point of failure, because if I say something wrong or you're going to lose your wealth. But it's just, it's weird that it's lately. And I don't know if that's because maybe, you know, bullishness. People are just more bullish now, or more newbies are coming in because of like Cash App thing moves and Lightning and all that stuff. But like, I didn't really get into these conversations until this year, where it was like, well, how come you're not doing the work that I had to do to learn this stuff? Like, I'm cool with leaving the carrots for you, but now you got to go do your work.
Yeah. I was having a conversation with one of my closest friends, because he didn't get into Bitcoin until I started talking to him about it. He was like, oh yeah, I saw it on like the peripheral of, I don't know, finance and stuff, and he's into business and all that. He didn't pull the trigger until I started like physically going to his apartment and was like, okay, let's set up this little Trezor, and yeah, here, you write down the words. I don't want to see the words. I want you to take care of that yourself. But yeah, he was saying that Bitcoin is for like, it's kind of weird to say this, but it kind of makes sense too. Bitcoin is just it's like for smart finance, whereas things like NFTs and ICOs end up being for like mainstream because it's easier for them to understand that. Or yeah, I don't know.
What do you mean by smart finance? Give me a little more on that.
Like you said, you put in the work, you put in the effort. It's for people who maybe not even smart. It's just like the people who actually want to put in the work and effort. It's just, that's just not what the mainstream is. Mainstream is just like, oh yeah, you feed me, I don't do anything. Like, yeah, I don't know. Like, ideally, I want to believe that people will eventually learn this stuff, but I'm not exactly too sure. Like, the longer I spend time here, I'm like, I don't know if they'll ever learn it, and they'll just end up using it like Unix or Linux, and it's just like integrated into everything without them even knowing. So I could see that be a possibility. Like, I think that's more and more of a possibility. Every day I'm here, I'm just like, are people going to wake up and learn? No, probably not. Because it takes a certain type of person to be like, oh, I want to improve my life. How do I actually improve my life? Okay, I see the steps. Okay, I'm actually going to use those steps to improve my life. And that's pretty much why Bitcoin rewards those who do the work.
Well said. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. That was perfectly well said. I don't want any, I can't say miss out, but I do agree with, like, you know, you get it at the price you get it at that point. Like, I can't sit around and explain this to everybody. I mean, I could try, I could do my very best, but if you don't want to get it, then you don't want to get it. And that's, I wouldn't say a struggle in my life, because I'm doing pretty well, I would like to say. But it's like, when it's like close ones and people you really care about, and, you know, you see that they're just kind of like you said, asleep and kind of just walking towards the cliff, and you're trying to just holler at them like, hey, that cliff is about to come. You need to just prepare yourself. And I can't help but fast forward a little bit and see, like, those are going to be the people that are most bitter when it goes to shit, because us Bitcoiners understand that it is going to go to shit. Yeah.
I've had, unfortunately, I've had friends like that. Because it's tough to see, like, I'd say I'm doing pretty well for myself, but it's when you're working with someone who's at like the same level or stage as you, and then they see you sort of like move on to better, or like, you know, more opportunities. Like you said, they do get bitter, and that's unfortunate. It's like, oh, okay, I guess I know that we're not actually friends anymore. I don't know.
That's a weird conversation to have, especially when you were trying to like, you know, teach them how to put the life vest on. Like, you were doing pretty much what the airplane people do, right? When you get on the plane, just letting you know, this is how you put it over your head, and you can pull the strings here. And they're just like, whatever. I don't need that safety vest. It doesn't matter. But anyways, that's very strange. So those people are pretty much just going to need like the Apples of the world to come around. Like, basically to spoon feed them what this is. I don't know if you've been seeing the rumors lately. I'm sure you have. So Strike, maybe something with Apple. You got any thoughts on that? I didn't really think deep about it.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be nice to see a Lightning integrated wallet with Apple's next iOS update, but I don't know. Could be anything. Hopefully Jack convinced Tim Cook to, well, Tim Cook has already alluded to owning Bitcoin. So I'm just going to assume everyone in the C-suite of Apple already owns Bitcoin. They're just figuring out what the best way is to, I guess, bring it to users and then make a ton of money off of it. I mean, that's like their whole game. It's like, all right, we're benefiting off of Bitcoin, but how do we bring it to all of our users and then allow us to make tons of money off of that for shareholders? It would be nice to see an integrated Lightning wallet, but I don't know how that benefits them, I guess. Well, I don't know. Maybe if they think deeply enough about it, I guess they could see it as like, oh, okay, so if we have new buyers, our Bitcoin holdings are supposed to go up as well. So if they think of it that way, then yeah, it does benefit them. But I feel like they would do something a bit more like in your face. It's like, oh, okay, our gaming platform now allows Lightning payments or something like that.
Yeah.
Or something. Yeah.
Or like Sats back, like rewards from using the Apple Card or something like that. That seems kind of. So
Yeah.
swipe that damn. I have one of those cards, man. That titanium thing is addicting to.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I also know
cool.
Apple to be the. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh yeah, go for it.
No, I also know Apple to be the company that kind of like lays back and watches everybody fuck up, and then they come in and say like, "Hey, ours is the best," and it's like, "Oh, that's because you watched everybody else fuck up, and then you just didn't make the same fuck ups." So I would be very surprised if this. I don't even know if this is actually going to be an announcement. It's all speculation, of course, but I would be very surprised if this announcement was, "Hey, we got a Lightning wallet inside of our iPhone," like right off the rip. Like, wait a minute, you guys didn't even try it, like you said in the arcade section or somewhere else. Which actually I'm going to be talking to a few folks from Thunder Games here in the next coming weeks, and I think it's actually extremely fascinating if an Apple Arcade will kind of adopt that model that Thunder got going on. But then as soon as I have that thought, now I start thinking about Thunder, right? And then now I start thinking about the other devs that made Lightning wallets, like Blue Wallet and these things. And say, when Apple and Google start coming into play, I guess it's good for adoption. But what happens to these companies?
They'll probably I could totally see Apple just continuing their walled garden approach, where it's kind of like what Venmo, for example. So they have a credit card. So if you spend with their credit card, you can get all those savings back in crypto, but you have to leave it on the Venmo platform. It's like you can't withdraw it. It's like, what's the point of me even doing that? I'm just going to have it pay off my credit card. But I could see them doing some sort of approach like that at first, and then maybe taking the Square, Cash App, or what do they call it now, Block approach, where they release it, they see how much interest is there, and if there's a high demand for withdrawals, maybe they add it later. I don't know.
Yeah,
but
we'll see.
Yeah, Apple's, I don't know. They're going to do something wall garden, because that's what they always do. It's like, oh, we need to keep everything in this ecosystem. We don't want you to leave. So
anti-Bitcoin, basically.
Yeah. So if they do that, then it's like, okay, like Strike, Blue Wallet, Moon Wallet, those are all still useful for us, but maybe not for, the normies, I guess.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that the Moon wallets of the world are I guess profitable enough or I guess supported enough to be able to continue to give us the non-normies those options, because I see no place in here where I would replace my Moon wallet. Actually, I don't really use Moon, but I use Blue Wallet a lot connected to my node. That's probably my go-to. But I don't see a world where I would give up that ability from Blue Wallet to basically run like a nice little pretty Apple Card on my phone, on my iOS that does Bitcoin transactions. Just like as of a few months ago, I've kind of just put the can on Cash App, period, and buying on exchanges, period. So I know I'm probably like a small part of the slice, and I'm not who Apple's targeting. But what I mean to say is I don't know how we can keep our small slice afloat when the masses are going to start coming in, and if you believe in free market, you believe that they're going to want the cool Apple features.
Yeah. I don't really. It's going to be interesting to see when that plays out. But we have Nayib Bukele, I guess, in Miami, and he's supposed to be, I don't know, supposed to be announcing something kind of big. That's what he was alluding to. So maybe we'll see.
How do you feel about him?
I don't know.
How do you feel about him? I'm not a fan. I'm just. Go ahead. How do you feel about him?
I think with most politicians, I'm like, I'm kind of.
Yep.
I'm on the fence about most of them. I think Bukele's made a lot of the right moves so far.
Yep. I lost you there for a second. Gotcha.
Oh yeah.
You talk about Bukele? Go ahead. Sorry. You don't believe politicians, and
Yeah. They're not necessarily going to have your best interests. They're just going to do whatever is necessary to continue being popular. That's really their whole game.
yeah.
And I guess I can blame them, but like at the same time, if they're going to make Bitcoin more accessible, sure, okay. I'll let them do their thing, I guess, at that point. But if they're against it, it's sort of like, well, Bitcoin's still going to do its own thing. So I don't know. I don't put too much thought into like the effects of these politicians. It might bring more, I guess, confirmation for people who are on the sidelines. That's pretty much that's like, I guess, the net benefit most of the time.
Yeah, I agree. Bitcoin's gonna do what Bitcoin do anyways. You set up your communities and states when it comes to here. You kind of just set yourself up for like major rug pulls when this situation happens. Because the faster you understand that you don't need them to have possession of this, or you don't even need them to approve. One of the most mind-boggling things that I see is Bitcoin-backed IRAs. I'm just wait a minute. Well, I mean, for the older population, go for it, right? You guys are already close to that age. You guys see the benefit in that, whatever. But to me, it's like, so wait a minute. We got this like money with no rules that we're going to like volunteer to put rules on. That's very backwards to me. Now, maybe I'm in the minority and understanding that this money doesn't have any rules, but anybody who kind of sniffs Bitcoin a little bit understands that it's, permissionless money.
Yeah.
So why would I now put IRS backing or IRS rules on deposits and contributions and withdrawals on taxes on money that doesn't need that to happen? Very weird.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of that is probably going to be, that's like the 80% who, I don't know, have like the 9 to 5 and they're entrenched in the corporate environment. And they don't necessarily want to do the necessary research. They're like, oh, okay, yeah, Bitcoin's cool. It's like, it's cool now. Or again, so they'll just throw a portion of their paycheck into it. I see NYDIG making a lot of moves with a lot of these banks to offer Bitcoin. I guess it's Bitcoin only services. I don't know if they got into any of the shitcoins, but yeah, at the same time, they're just partnering to keep the Bitcoin within the banking system and not necessarily allow people to take custody of their keys. So,
and that rug pull, I mean, people, 1971, does anybody know? Like, this can happen again just with private keys.
Yeah.
It's very strange. So you head into the conference? Are you near Miami? Is that something that's you got in your plans for you? Or?
No, I went last year. I got my fill.
And
yeah, there was quite a bit of that. Yeah, and a lot of the speakers are kind of like, all right, I get from a money perspective why you brought them on, but at the same time, I'm like, I don't really want to listen to what they have to say. Like Kevin O'Leary, for example, like he'll FUD and promote Bitcoin whenever it suits his agenda, and I'm just not really into that. I think anyone with morals is not into that, but
right.
Yeah, it was cool seeing Tony Hawk last time. And this one is supposed to be like 30,000, I think this year, 30,000 people.
It depends on who you believe, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, I think it was overcrowded, like for the space that they had. So I don't think they were exaggerating the numbers for last year. But yeah, I think for this year, it's going to be interesting. I didn't see the need to go though, just because.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'd rather have the money in sats, I think, at this point.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm working on this family trip to move down actually near Austin in the Texas area. I don't think it's a secret anymore for the listeners. I work at Unchained Capital.
Nice.
Yeah, but the irony of not, understanding IRAs, and we have Bitcoin IRAs, and it's like I'm perfectly cool with being a dumbass about it, right? Because even in the fiat life, I never cared for that stuff, 401ks and stuff like that. So, but I have still yet to have the person come back to me and able to like explain to me why permissionless money needs permission. But yeah, so like we're making the move down there is my point. And then a lot of people were saying, you're not going to be in Miami. And I'm like, you realize when you pack up the family and move, like even that, $500 ticket goes a long way, And at the very least, it ends up in cold storage, but not this year. More interested in BBB, Bit Block Boom, than I am in the Miami conference. And, I know if you go to Miami and you find the Bitcoiners, it's definitely going to be Bitcoiner, but, I don't want to promote shitcoinery in any way, shape, or form, especially when it comes to paying for a $500 ticket, to watch Floyd Mayweather talk to me about bullshit. But yeah, that's just me.
Yeah, and that's the other thing, too. There are smaller, more intimate settings. For Bitcoin only, like, because it's not as big. I think it's pretty cool. Like Bitcoin Day, for example, they have, what is it? It's like 200 to 300 person capacity. It's only one day, but you get to go out to like these smaller cities like Sacramento, OKC. I think Sioux Falls is one too. There's one in Colorado, but yeah, I don't know if do they have one in Texas? They should, I think.
What?
Bitcoin Day conference. I have to look into
that one I haven't heard. Yeah, they got a gazillion in San Antonio, Houston, and that triangle, what they call it. They got a gazillion, but I don't think I've heard of Bitcoin Day.
Yeah.
Soon enough.
Yeah, it's I think it makes more sense to just go to like smaller conferences at that point. But I don't know. Depends on who you want to meet too. So if you know someone is going and you've always wanted to meet them or discuss, I don't know, talk shop or whatever, yeah, maybe it's worth it. It depends on what you want to go for.
That's a good point. I think especially the OG Bitcoiners, I've found them incredibly approachable, which is very weird. Like they will talk to you, which I know that sounds like a groupie, like, oh my God. But you just kind of get the gist that, yeah, everybody's just the same. Everybody's in it for the same exact thing. And they don't even see themselves as OG. Maybe some of them do, but like, so yeah, I didn't think about it in that perspective. Because in a typical, let's say like fiat convention or whatever, good luck shaking the hand of the guy that you actually went there to go see. But in Bitcoin, you actually could get a handshake and probably a good conversation out of some of these OGs.
Yeah, for now. We'll see how the next decade goes. I'm sure at some point, I mean, us too, it's like at the end of the day, we just want to be left alone.
Yeah.
So maybe it could get overwhelming. It's like, oh, every time I go now, it's just like, it's too much. There's just too many people. But I don't know.
No, you're right.
Yeah.
Or they'll transition out, and then, guys like us that are like providing content day and day will start to transition there by the next halving and be, I guess, the guys who want their hands to be shaken. But I'm with you. Yeah. If I could just like avoid you and not shake your hand, I especially if I don't know you, I may want to, I prefer to just keep going that way. And I think about celebrities sometimes. I couldn't imagine it, like to like get out of a car and get like a camera in your face, or to be in the airport. That's madness to me. I want no piece of that.
Yeah. I mean, it's good we're seeing as much as the Will Smith and Chris Rock situation happened. It's sort of like, yeah. Even celebrities are losing their credibility and the trust in the public, and that's part of like the whole deterioration of all these institutions. So it's maybe we'll get back to a time where things are just way simpler, and people just appreciate being with their families and not having to follow the lives of celebrities. But I don't know. Maybe some people woke up after that. I don't know.
Yeah, that hard money lifestyle we were talking about earlier. What are your thoughts on the Will Smith thing? And we can close on that if you want. Be honest now. Don't give me no sugarcoat.
I don't know. Like I totally respected Will Smith back in the Fresh Prince days, because he was, that dude was like, that was like everyone's idol. Like, bro, I want to be like Will Smith.
100.
Yeah, it's just sad. I think the whole situation is just kind of sad. Like I don't want his legacy to be tarnished because of, well, it's not just this slap. It's the whole thing with what's her face,
The wife
Jada.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Destroying that, man.
Yeah, he probably should have left her like 20 years ago.
Right.
To be honest, like after he had the kids, it's like, okay, I'm gonna find another wife who actually like wants to be with me.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I hope he finds Bitcoin and he fixes his life. That's what I hope from Will Smith. And Chris Rock was just like in the line of fire for no reason. But yeah, I don't actually have anything against these celebrities. It's just sort of like, I want to see like everyone prosper because of Bitcoin. Like that's my whole intention of like being in this space. And people I don't know. I think people don't really believe that, but like, because they've been burned so often in like the fiat world, it's hard to see a group of people actually want to see others succeed. I don't know. It's interesting.
It's a rarity. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, if you go to different circles outside of Bitcoin, you still have that like dog eat dog world. And I agree. I'm still fascinated by jumping on, just getting this conversation with you, right? Like I've been, so like just blown away by how supportive Bitcoiners are and how much they're willing to contribute their time and talk to you and push your creativity and push your art. And it's just fascinating to me. So I don't think we'll see it again. And like we just circle back, maybe it's a hard money thing. Maybe it's just Bitcoiners just found the coolest thing and we're the coolest kids on the block now. I don't know what it is, but it's interesting nonetheless. About Chris and Will, I mean, there's so many things that were happening there. The mental health from Will is obviously very apparent the last few years. Pretty much the world has been laughing at him for the past few years. Chris Rock handled that like a G, just keeping composure and going through it. But it's just, it's a comedian. You're front row people usually get roasted. That's kind of how this thing kind of works out. The joke was actually pretty lame, if you ask me. So it wasn't even like a damn dagger. It was more like a soft jab. So many things there. But I wish the best for both of them. I really wish. I heard Chris Rock actually suffers from like, PTSD from high school, from being picked on and stuff like that. So, both of these individuals, both of the men, I hope they get their mind right. I hope they get the help they need, the therapy that they need. Because man, Will Smith is one of those guys, man. He's that guy to us. We grew up with him. He's Independence Day. He's whatever. I Am Legend. He's Ali, right? So to see him get to the point where last year or whatever, the dishonesty of his wife, and then now to like crying on her TV show, being the joke of the internet, and now this shit. I don't know, man. Thoughts and prayers. I really hope they figure it out. But we're obviously experiencing a lot of mental health going on here in the public.
Yeah. That's something that people I don't even know. Like I don't even know what it is. They preach about it, but they don't have any solutions for it. I mean, the solution is keep the nuclear family alive and get on the Bitcoin standard. That's really the
and no seed oils.
Yeah, no seed oils.
That's the last one there.
Those things will kill your brain.
If you watch enough of those videos, you'll be scared for life. But Dennis, let the listeners know where they could, read your work, follow your work, check out the YouTube stuff, wherever you want to send them.
For sure. I mean, I'm mostly on Twitter. Just DenizSaat, 3 A's. And then on YouTube, it's 58K, and then DENIZ. But feel free to reach out, and I don't know, we'll talk shop, we'll talk Bitcoin.
Hell yeah, definitely. And we're going to get to that 58K pretty soon, it's looking like. So you're going to be back in full effect with the gang.
Yeah, man. Yeah, and thank you so much for having me on, man. It's always fun just connecting with other Bitcoiners. This is great.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Thanks for coming on, and I hope this ain't the last time. Definitely a friend of the show for sure.
Sounds good.
All right, y'all. If y'all want to follow us, like we were talking about earlier, well, me specifically for say, I'm not on YouTube, but you can check me out on Bitcoin TV. If you want to get value for value and support the Lightning Network and Podcasting 2.0, you could definitely check us out on Fountain app. That's my favorite place to do it, but you could do it on Breeze app as well. When it comes to the audio, you can definitely get it on your legacy media platforms, Apple, Spotify, all those places. But we just want to encourage Bitcoin-friendly companies. So check us out on Fountain. Until next time, later.